Part 61. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 625. One update arrived. Why are you here? Luo Xiaoxian was sitting on the bed and shaking her legs out of boredom. When she saw Chu Xia coming in, she jumped down with joy. Didn't you say that you would accompany the leader to visit relatives today? He was notified at short notice to come over for a meeting, so I came with him. Chu Xia looked at her in confusion. Where are Aunt Fat and Uncle Gang Shun? I went to visit room 309, Luo Xiaoxian spread her hands helplessly. When I was preparing dinner in the morning, my mother met an acquaintance, and she and my father went to find her as soon as they finished eating. Aunt Fatty can actually meet an acquaintance here? Isn't she also here to celebrate the new year with her children? Luo Xiaoxian nodded. My mother and I live in the same village. Their son is also a soldier here. He said he hasn't gone back to celebrate the new year in 2 years. There is only one seedling in the house. Grandma misses her grandson, so my parents stay with the old lady. Come together. Chu Xia changed the topic. How is Ernie doing there? Nothing happened. I went with Ernie when the shift was over. Ning Kinkin's attitude towards Ernie is much better than before. Luo Xiaoxian said with a cold snort, if she dares to show off her power again, I will let her go. She gets a taste of how good I am. This kind of thing can't be hidden for long. There is such a person. It's really. Chu Xia clicked her tongue with a speechless face. This matter would be considered common in 30 years and would not affect a person's future. In this era, if it is really exposed, the serious consequences will be absolutely immeasurable. Chu Xia, isn't it? Luo Xiaoxian circled around Chu Xia. This is not your first time seeing this kind of thing, so why are you so surprised? When did I meet? He asked this question reflexively. Chu Xia regretted it and listened to Luo Xiaoxian's wishes. She should have encountered this kind of thing before, but it wasn't her then. As expected, Luo Xiaoxian looked at her in surprise. When Luo Ying's mother and Jianbei's father in our village were getting along, weren't we bumped into each other? You were the one who shouted at her and the whole village knew about it. Don't tell me you forgot about this. I don't believe you. Oh. Chu Xia said suddenly, it's the thing you mentioned, but that's different. Ning Kinkin is not married. How can she be compared with Luo Ying's mother? That's true. After thinking about it, Luo Xiaoxian added, actually, it's almost the same. From what they said, Ning Kinkin wanted to use Director Jiao's light to solve her brother's work. Luo Yingniang was close to Jianbei's father at that time because Jianbei's father was responsible for sharing the food. She wants to share more, so to speak, the nature is the same. Okay. It's strange that I don't see it so often. Chu Xia moved closer to her and lowered her voice. I'm telling you, Zhou Mikang lent us a novel. I'll give it to you later. Really? Luo Xiaoxian's eyes widened. Your regimental leader is so nice, he is such a good person. Xia, it's a good thing you married her. Otherwise we would have suffered a huge loss. I bought you off with just a few books. Look at your potential. Chu Xia tapped her forehead with her fingers. Then he sighed helplessly, these days are too boring. How can I do it if I don't have some fun and amuse myself? Luo Xiaoxian looked at her speechlessly. You have a boring life today. You can go home every day, and there is a big TV to watch when you get home. The leader is so kind to you, so don't be dissatisfied. By the way, you guys are today. I haven't gone to visit relatives. Can I still go to the capital tomorrow? Chu Xia shook her head. I don't know either. Then she sighed. I had an appointment with someone this afternoon, so I probably won't be able to go today. Who are you dating? Luo Xiaoxian asked casually. A woman who likes Zhou Mixang very much. Chu Xia spread her hands and said, she committed suicide 2 days ago. If she doesn't see her, I'm afraid she will commit suicide again. I don't want to live anymore, don't worry about her. Luo Xiaoxian glared at Chu Xia dissatisfied, you are too talkative. You should tell the group leader directly that you can't go. Okay, next time something like this happens, I'll say this. Do you still want to do it next time? Luo Xiaoxian kicked her feet and threw her body on the bed, making a dying gesture. I can't do it anymore, I can't do it anymore, I'm going to be mad at you. Have you seen Daodu? Chu Xia asked. No. Luo Xiaoxian sat up suddenly, I have nothing to do anyway, why don't we go and give Daodu and Meijun a New Year's greetings? Looking at the watch on his wrist, it was only 8:50 in the morning. Chu Xia came down and said, okay, let's go and wish Daodu and Meijun New Year, but do you know how to get to their house? Of course, I have been there. Luo Xiaoxian said with a bitter look on her face, but I always took Dean Su's ride there. I don't know how to get there by car. Rolling his eyes, Chu Xia looked at her eagerly. Zhou Mikang's car is parked outside the office. How about we drive his car? Do you think that's riding a bicycle? Luo Xiaoxian rolled her eyes, can you stop having sweet dreams in broad daylight? I can drive. Chu Xia looked at her seriously, I ride with them every day. I keep paying attention to their movements. I think I can do it. Do you dare to sit? Luo Xiaoxian quickly jumped out of bed, if you can drive, I dare to sit. But remember, if we really can't have fun anymore, we would rather kill ourselves than hurt others. Bah, what are you talking about during the Chinese New Year? Chu Xia glared at her, am I such an unreliable person? Would I make fun of our lives? Luo Xiaoxian curled her lips and said nothing. Anyway, she didn't believe that it was so easy to learn to drive. It took her many years to learn how to ride a bicycle. If she could just drive a car, how could those tractor drivers in the village accidentally drive into a ditch? Luo Xiaoxian wrote a note for Luo Gangshun and Fat Ant, and went out with Chu Xia. After going to Zhou Mikang's office to find the car key, Chu Xia left a note for Zhou Mikang, which said, Xiaoxian and I went to pay New Year's greetings to Daodu Meijun, and we drove the car away. The captain will probably be scared to death when he sees the message you left after leaving the door, Luo Xiaoxian said, human nature cannot be changed. I thought you were sensible. Zhou Mikang knew that she could drive and believed that the other party would not be worried, but he could not tell Luo Xiaoxian. Chu Xia smiled, if you are afraid, it is too late to say it now, I won't laugh at you. Who is scared? Luo Xiaoxian glared at her, if you dare to drive, I will sit down. Whoever is afraid of whom? Chu Xia patted her, because of your courage and trust in me, I promise that we will be the best sisters in this life. I just feel that I will be with you until death. I will never be a deserter again. Obviously, Luo Xiaoxian was still concerned about the name change incident. Chu Xia patted her comfortingly and said nothing more. Watching Chu Xia start the engine, and slowly drive the car out of the base, Luo Xiaoxian's eyes almost popped out, it turns out that driving is so easy. Give me a try later, okay? Luo Xiaoxian looked at Chu Xia's movements curiously, sure enough, the one with 4 wheels is easier to learn than the one with 2 wheels. Chu Xia had a black streak on her head, so she didn't want to overdo it, so she said, okay, you can try it when we get to an open place later, but before that, I asked Zhou Mikang to teach me once. It's okay, you're here, you can teach me, Luo Xiaoxian said eagerly. Chu Xia sighed secretly. If she had known it, she would not have been so brave if she had not claimed this courage. It had taken her nearly 2 months under the strong sun to get the certificate. If it weren't for the fact that she used it when she was learning to drive. It's a big Jeep with a manual transmission, and it's impossible to drive this car now. However, if she denies Luo Xiaoxian now, the other party will misunderstand her and look down on her. According to Luo Xiaoxian's temper, she can really stop interacting with her in the future. Forget it, if something happens, it will be like this. It was even more unsafe to go further into the city. Chu Xia looked around, stepped on the brakes, slowly stopped the car, and motioned to Luo Xiaoxian to change places with her. Ah, yo, the impatient Luo Xiaoxian jumped down without even looking. As a result, she just stepped on a stone and suffered a sprain in her foot. Chu Xia helped Luo Xiaoxian get into the car with a speechless expression, and gently helped her move her ankle. Looking at the rapidly swelling ankle, she sighed, "Forget it, let's go back. It's not polite to go limp to pay New Year's greetings like this." Luo Xiaoxian drooped her head, "You're celebrating the New Year, why do you treat me like this? It's too much. If Ning Qingcan sees it, she will definitely be happy." Chu Xia glared at her, "It's time now. If you are still thinking about what she said, go back to CDR Lu and try to recover as soon as possible." So, the two of them drove the car roaring all the way into the yard. They first went to the bruises clinic to ask Dr. Lu to help treat their ankle, and then drove the car back to the door of Zhou Mikang's office. When the car stopped, Zhou Mikang and Zhou Hanliang happened to come over after a meeting. When they saw Lin Chuxia getting out of the driver's seat, the smile on Zhou Hanliang's face immediately froze. "Emma, what kind of monster did the leader marry?" Turning to look at Zhou Mikang, seeing that there was no strange color on his face, Zhou Hanliang wiped the cold sweat that had not appeared on his forehead. "Emma, is he too impatient, or are monsters and monsters together?" "What's your expression?" Zhou Mikang glared at him, quickened his pace towards Chu Xia, and tapped Luo Xiaoxian with his chin. "What's wrong with him?" "I accidentally sprained my ankle." Chu Xia simply helped Luo Xiaoxian get into the car. "You can take us to the guest house. She can recover faster if we walk less." "Sister-in-law, when did you learn to drive?" Chu Xia glanced at Zhou Hanliang and said confidently, "I just took a free ride during this period. I kept watching, and I asked Zhou Mikang to take me to experiment again, and I got it. Of course, my driving is not very good, just so-so." To be continued. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 626. Because the two families formally met for dinner in the evening, Johan came back from get-off work early in the afternoon to pick up Lin Li, Lin's father, Lin's mother, and the others to the hotel. As for the hotel yesterday, Joe's mother called early in the morning and said that it had been booked. By then, they just go there. Johan had called Lin Li in the afternoon to inform her of the evening time and the place to eat, so when he drove back from the company, Lin, father, and mother were all ready and ready to go out at any time. Johan asked Father Lin and Mother Lin to sit in the living room for a while he put his briefcase in the study room and prepared to go back to the room to change clothes before going out. Johan took out the previously matched clothes from the cloakroom and put them on the bed. Johan took off his suit jacket and was about to change clothes. But then he reached out to unbutton the collar of the shirt, and the door of the room was opened from the outside. Lin Li glanced at the living room at the door to make sure her parents didn't look in her direction, then she came in sneakily and locked the door. When he turned around again, he happened to look into Johan's eyes that were half smiling but not smiling. Johan looked at her funny. After getting along with her for the past 2 days, he discovered that this woman also had such an interesting childish side. He thought she was just a person who pretended to be strong and suppressed her emotions. It turned out that she could be stupid sometimes, and stupid people it looks very interesting and cute. Lin Li glared at him and walked towards him. Without waiting for him to speak, she asked directly, "What did you say to my mother this morning?" Johan raised his eyebrows at first, then as if thinking of something, he nodded clearly and said calmly, "Oh, you know." His tone was as calm as if he was not talking about his own business. After saying that, he turned around and let her continue to unbutton his shirt. Lin Li stared hard, and said dissatisfiedly, "Why are you talking nonsense to my mother? Don't you think things are messy enough?" She felt that she was simply set up by him and was restricted in every way. Obviously this show for her parents is supposed to go according to the development she wants, but now, she can only passively follow his footsteps, and she never knows whether he will suddenly appear somewhere. She would add a scene in one place, or suddenly change the scene in another place. She is not a professional actor. Where does she get the ability to adapt to changes? Johan turned his back to her and did not turn around. He only said, "Your mother asked me, so I answered this way while speaking." He did not stop moving his hands. "Then why do you say that I don't want to be disturbed by you and insist on sharing a room?" It was better for him to say this, and directly put all the responsibility on her, and he felt relaxed. Johan turned his head, and all the buttons of the shirt were unbuttoned. He took off the shirt and threw it on the bed, revealing his well-maintained figure. Johan had a good figure, not fat but strong, with bronzed skin. Very tight. Even in the lower abdomen, you can clearly see the abdominal muscles, which are as sexy as those seen in the gym. When Lin-Li was still stunned by his figure, Johan had already approached her, staring straight at her, and asked, "Then what should I say? Tell them the truth that we are just fake husband and wife, just acting to make them feel at ease." Lin-Li swallowed her saliva and her reaction became a little slow. She could only speak subconsciously and said, "Of course not." Johan smiled, looked down at his body, a hint of cunning flashed in his eyes, and then raised his eyes again with the same deep eyes. He took another step closer to her and asked, "Or do you actually mind if you want to sleep with us?" He approached, and Lin-Li backed away. She had no time to think about what he had just said. In the end, he was forced to retreat with no way out. Then she looked up at him, swallowed and asked, What? What did you just say?" Johan stretched out his hand against the wall, trapping her between the wall and himself. With a slightly evil smile on his lips, he deliberately lowered his voice and said, "I said you want to sleep with me." Lin-Li was stunned for a moment, as if she was thinking about what he meant by what he just said. She took a moment to react, looked at her with a red face and wide eyes and said loudly, "How is that possible?" Johan smiled, deliberately teasing her, and asked, "Really don't want to?" As he said that, he deliberately leaned closer to her. This time Lin-Li was not tempted by beauty. She pushed him away and said righteously, "Of course I don't want to, I'm not crazy." Johan was pushed away by her and took a few steps back. He shrugged with a smile and said, "That's a shame." Lin-Li's face was still a little red. She glanced away and didn't look at him. She just said coyly, Why are you taking off your clothes?" Johan turned around, took the shirt he had taken out of the closet and put it on himself. While buttoning the buttons, he said, "Change your clothes naturally." He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Lin-Li didn't speak again, standing there thinking about waiting for him to change clothes before warning him not to talk nonsense in front of her parents. When Johan put on his shirt and turned around, he saw her squinting her head and staring at the TV hanging on the wall. Her ears seemed to be red because of embarrassment. The corner of his mouth was half raised, and he kindly reminded her towards her back, "Aren't you going to go out?" "I'm going to change my pants." Hearing this, Lin-Li hurried out of the room without looking back, and the door slammed shut with a swift movement. In the room, Johan looked at the closed door for a long time and shook his head with a smile. Lin-Li's face was still very hot after she came out. When Lin's mother saw it, she couldn't help but asked worriedly, "Xiao Li, why is your face so red? Are you feeling unwell?" Lin-Li hurriedly shook her head and said with a dry smile, No. I'm a little hot, just a little hot." As she spoke, she used her hand as a fan and fanned herself desperately. The place where the two families met for dinner in the evening was booked by Joe's mother. It was booked in a 5-star hotel, and she had a private room. She specifically asked the kitchen to cook the dishes according to the taste of Lin-Li's hometown. In order to prepare for tonight's meal, Joe's mother went to the hair salon to have her hair done in the afternoon, and reminded Joe's father no less than 3 times a day to make time in the evening and not to be busy with social activities. When Johan drove Lin-Li and the others over, Joe's mother and father had already arrived with Joe Jiabin's friends. As the hotel manager smiled and talked to Johan, he led them towards the VIP room. Mother Lin, who was following behind, pulled the corner of Father Lin's clothes and whispered in Father Lin's ear, "Why do I feel that this week, why is my family not an ordinary family?" Father Lin didn't look at her, just nodded and responded softly, "No matter how special we are, we will only be in-laws from now on." Mother Lin didn't say anything more. She understood what her husband meant. It didn't matter to them what kind of family the Joe family was. They just married their daughter off, as long as they treated Lin-Li well. The hotel manager opened the door himself and said to Johan with a smile, Mr. Joe, and the others are already inside, so I will arrange to go to the kitchen to serve you food." Johan nodded towards him and said, "Trouble?" The hotel manager nodded with a smile on his face and said, "That's right. I wish you a pleasant meal." Then he turned and left. Johan turned sideways and said to Father Lin and Mother Lin, "Dad, Mom, let's go in." Father Lin nodded and went into the private room with Mother Lin. When Johan turned around and wanted to go in, he was caught by Lin-Li on the side. She leaned over and whispered a warning in his ear, "Don't talk nonsense later." Johan glanced at her and just smiled without saying a word. As soon as Mother Lin and Father Lin entered, Mother Joe stood up to greet them, with a smile on her face and said, "Dad, Mother, in-laws, you are here, come here quickly, come here and sit down, come here and sit down." He took Mother Lin's hand and led her towards the dining table. Father Joe also stood up to greet him, and nodded to Father Lin with a smile that he usually didn't have much on his face. Before Mrs. Lin came, she was a little worried that it would be too embarrassing if she got angry. She didn't know what to say when they sat together, but she let go within a few minutes of it, because Mrs. Joe is a person who loves to talk and laugh. The scene had not been quiet since they came in. They asked Mother Lin to talk about homely things, and the atmosphere immediately became lively. Father Joe has been a leader for a long time, and his serious face is a little hard to smile, but he really values his future in-laws. Although the smile on his face is not too stiff, at least his attitude is sincere. After the meal, the anger was very harmonious. At the end of the conversation, Joe's mother said that the issue of Lin-Li and Johan's wedding came up. According to her and Joe's father, they wanted to hold a wedding for Lin-Li and Johan, because they always felt that Lin-Li Yuan had already wronged Lin-Li by marrying to Zhang Cheng. It was too wrong for Lin-Li that she still didn't have a decent wedding. They treated the daughter-in-law of their Joe family as their own daughter and wanted to give her what she deserved. In fact, when Father Lin and Mother Lin heard what the Joe family said, they no longer had any worries about Lin-Li when marrying their daughter. They could get a good son-in-law and a good husband-in-law. What more could they ask for? As for the wedding, it doesn't matter whether we want it or not. Mother Lin smiled and took Mother Joe's hand, and said sincerely, "My mother-in-law, with your words, we two elders have nothing to worry about. Our Xyli will trouble you in the future." Joe's mother also hugged her back and said with a smile, "Look at what you said, we are all one family, we are all one family." Mother Lin also laughed, turned to look at Lin-Li and Johan, and said, "As for the wedding, I have no objection. If they young people want to do it, of course it is best. If they really find it troublesome, we should respect them." Hearing this, everyone looked at Lin-Li and Johan. Lin-Li smiled dryly and turned to look at Johan, only to see him eating vegetables with a look of nothing on his face. Joe's mother noticed the clues and called out to Johan, "Johan." "Huh?" Johan looked up, seemingly a little confused, with a confused look on his face. "You have your say. Should we hold this wedding?" "We can't wrong Lin-Li," Joe's mother said, implying that she wanted him to agree to hold the wedding. Johan nodded clearly and said, It doesn't matter whether you do it or not. I listened to Lin Li. He looked towards Lin Li with a smile. Lin Li's mouth twitched, and she stretched out her hand under the table and pinched Johan hard. She smiled dryly and turned to Joe's mother and the others and said, I think it's better not to do anything first. Johan's company has been very busy recently. After the wedding, we'll talk about it later. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 627. The third update has arrived. Since you have thought about it, that's fine. Zhou Mikang looked at Jinyu. Lao Jin, for your sake, I will try my best on this matter, but the result really depends on God's will. No, I know the characteristics of that person. As long as you look for it according to the characteristics I mentioned, you will definitely find it. Taking a deep breath and being silent for a long time, Lian Rui said, when I was struggling, I tore after taking off his mask. He looks very ugly, with a flat nose, a big black mark at the corner of his mouth, a mark on his left eyebrow, and one of his eyes is blind. When she was talking about specific characteristics, Chu Xia took a piece of paper and brushed the drawing on one side. After she finished speaking, Chu Xia held up the paper and showed it to her. Is it like this? Yes, yes. Yes. Yes, Lian Rui looked at Chu Xia in surprise. What you drew is so similar, at least 60%, yes, 60% similar. How did you do it? Yes. Have you seen him? Chu Xia shook her head. No, I just drew it according to your description. If you don't believe me, you can describe a person's appearance and I will draw it for you. You can see if it looks like him. It was also the first time Zhou Mikang saw Chu Xiaolu's hand, so he took the paper over, looked at it for a while, and looked at her. Why haven't I seen you draw before? No chance. Chu Xia spread her hands. I don't have anyone in the family who likes slow painting. Besides, how can I be embarrassed to show off my two knife skills? You have two knife skills. Jinyu looked at it for a while and gave a thumbs up. I admire your imagination and perception so much. After listening to my sister's description, I only remembered the mole at the corner of my mouth, but after a while, looking at your sketch, it feels like the criminal is standing in front of me. If I meet this person when I go out, I will definitely recognize him. Thank you for the compliment. Chu Xia looked at Zhou Mikang proudly. How is it? Are you shocked by me? Zhou Mikang ignored her and looked directly at Lian Rui. With this picture, I can guarantee you this. As long as this person is still alive, he can't escape. Thank you. Lian Rui turned to Chu Xia and bowed solemnly. Mrs. Zhou, thank you very much. No, 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 this was the first time she was called Mrs. Zhou, and Chu Xia couldn't get used to it. It feels a little sweet inside. The feeling of being recognized by a love rival. Not bad. Zhou Mikang looked at Jinyu. If we have nothing else to do, we will leave. We will visit a few more houses in the afternoon and accompany Chu Xia back to her grandparents' house tomorrow. Jinyu hurriedly went inside and picked up a big bag. This is 1/3 of the novel I have here. Finish watching. Come to me again to get the others. On purpose. Chu Xia looked at him funny. You are deliberately letting us come here a few more times, right? Jinyu gave her a thumbs up. Sister-in-law, you are so smart. If you don't do this, Zhou Mikang won't be able to come back until next year to pay New Year greetings. Brother Jin, are you afraid that I will ruin your book, or do you really want Zhou Mikang to come over? Of course I really want you to come over. My parents were very happy to see you and kept talking about it. They asked me to interact with you more in the future. They said that good friends also need to meet often to maintain their relationship. Okay, I'll come back to you after a while. Joe Mikang patted him on the shoulder and added, it's your own lifelong event. You should also pay close attention to it and don't always let Uncle Jin and Aunt Jin worry about it. You really have it yourself, and you start laughing at others, forgetting how you were so stubborn in the first place. Aren't you older than me? Anyway, I have good intentions. Whether you can listen to it or not is none of my business. Joe Mikang waved his hand at him, pulled Chu Xia away, and was no longer in the air. Take another look at Lian Rui. My mother is right. If I persist, I will only become a resentful woman in my life. No matter whether Lin Chuxia is there or not, he will not like me. Okay, you can tell your second aunt when you go home, and she can help me. We went on a blind date, I kept my word, I was done with my worries, and it was time to find a home. As for the fact that I was raped, I must tell the other person. I believe that I will eventually meet such a person. I must tell my second aunt about this. It is best when she introduces me to her, first tell her my experience, and then meet again when she can accept it. Otherwise, forget it, so that everyone will not be too busy talking about it. Okay, I'll listen to you. Jinyu agreed helplessly. I will tell my mother the truth and let her open her eyes to find a suitable one for you. I'm going back first. My mother must still be worried about the results. Sister, you are really thinking about it, aren't you? Jinyu asked with a worried look on his face. Yes, I've thought about it. Lian Rui nodded seriously, otherwise I would have killed my second aunt. Since I agreed to the blind date, I really want to find a suitable man to marry. No more daydreaming. Has Brother Jin been hurt in love? Chu Xia asked after the car drove for a while. She had been holding back her energy to ask yesterday, but in the end she was embarrassed. It's not a romantic injury. When he was in high school, he was in love with a female classmate in the class, but the teacher caught him and made a report to the whole school. The girl couldn't bear the blow and hanged herself after returning home. However, she was saved and the family moved away. Jinyu felt that he was mainly responsible for this matter, so he never talked about it again in all these years. Had a girlfriend. If he wants to find it, you can help him find it, right? You think too much of me. His classmate's family moved to Jilin. I don't have such long hands. Besides, I checked for him. The results show that although the family has moved, their household registration is still there, but he still stayed in City A, and he has never used his household registration to do anything in these years, and there is no record of it. It's bloody 8 o'clock. Chu Xia couldn't help but mutter. What's the meaning? That is to say, this matter is in the same style as those extremely exaggerated TV series. Oh, Joe Mikang nodded suddenly. Since his little wife came from another time and space, she naturally knew something different from this time and space. Although he had no idea about that kind of TV series, think about it and you will know roughly what this means. In a blink of an eye, it's the third day of the Lunar New Year. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the brothers Joe Mikang, Joe Zikang, Joe Huikang, and Joe Zhonkang got up early and went to the yard to set off firecrackers and eat dumplings. The year was over, and then it was time to actually sit down and visit relatives. But Chu Xia and Joe Mikang had decided to accompany Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan to the Lin family in the capital, so the relatives of the Zhou family would be left to the Zhou Zikang brothers. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 628. The first update is here. Nuan has something to do in the evening. The next update may be very late, or it may be postponed to tomorrow morning. Dear friends, please understand. When Joe Mikang drove the car out of the door, a military green jeep parked at the door. Lin Wenbin was sitting in the driver's seat, so Joe Mikang quickly stopped the car. Second uncle and second aunt, Happy New Year. Lin Wenbin got out of the car and respectfully shook hands with Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, then looked at Chu Xia and Joe Mikang, who had already got out of the car, Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year, second brother Chusia smiled and waved her paw at him. Didn't we agree that we should go there early in the morning? Why do you have to go there again? That's right, Xiaomi is coming with us. Why do you think you, the kid, are here? Lin Bao he also said helplessly. This means attention. Of course I have to make a trip. Lin Wenbin looked at a few people and smiled. Let me go in and say New Year's greetings to everyone, and then we will set off. Zhou Mikang waved to him and said, no need to go to all the trouble. Anyway, you have to come with me to send it off when the time comes. It will be the same for New Year greetings at that time. Thinking about it, that's what happened, and the Zhou family was still busy welcoming guests, so there was no need for him to go in and bother him, so Lin Wenbin agreed. When a group of people arrived at Lin's house in Beijing, it was exactly 9:30 in the morning. The car drove into the yard. As soon as they got out of the car, Grandpa Lin and his family came out to welcome them. After everyone said hello, Mrs. Lin hugged Chusia directly in her arms. Little girl, Grandma misses you so much. Grandma. I miss you too. Chusia hugged her back affectionately. How are you doing? Okay. Okay. Grandma is still waiting to hold her great-grandson. Grandma Lin turned to Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. You two don't want me, an old woman, either. Yes, of course I do. Zhao Yulan said quickly. No, as soon as the new year was over, we came over with great preparations, but we still didn't leave as early as Wenbin. It's our fault. I'm teasing you. Are you serious? Mrs. Lin laughed. You are in the Zhou family, of course you must abide by the Zhou family's rules. They are celebrating the New Year's Eve there, so you will naturally leave later. Let's go, everyone. Come inside and talk. Chusia, I left in a hurry last time and didn't have time to say hello to you. I always felt a little guilty afterwards. Did you feel that your second brother didn't value you? After entering the house, Lin Venhang walked up to Chusia and asked. No, no. Chusia smiled and waved her hands. I know my second brother is busy. Besides, I can't be so narrow-minded. Just don't blame me. After I came back, I was severely punished by my grandfather. He said that I was too ignorant for such a little sister. She let it go. Compared to my eldest brother, I am indeed unqualified. But in early summer, the second brother's heart for you is the same as the eldest brother's heart for you. It is useless to talk too much. You will know it after we have been together for a long time. Okay, go ahead. Lin Wenbin pushed him away. You don't care about Chusia at all as much as I do. Besides, you are the third brother, not the second brother. I am Xia's second brother. Also, if you really have the same heart as me, you won't even say hello when you can leave. I went there to work specifically for early summer. What about you? What have you done? He just knows how to sing a high note. Chusia, don't pay attention to him. Your second brother is like this. He talks nice, but when it comes to the actual situation, he can't tell the difference between the inside and the outside. Lin Venhang was a little embarrassed by what he said, so he pushed him. Brother, you can't be like this. You can't slander me like this just to dominate my sister. Do I mean to slander you? Lin Wenbin rolled his eyes at him. Then tell Chusia, who did you return to the capital with, and where did you go before returning to the capital? If you really feel that you are right with Chusia, you just say it openly. I glanced at Uncle Lin quietly and saw that he was talking to Lin Baohe. Lin Venhang continued, I can't help it. I work with Huang Sui, and it's not a private matter. Brother, please don't go online like this, okay? How many times have you told me about this? How big of a deal does it matter? Of course. Lin Wenbin stared at him angrily. For me, my sister is the most important. Anyone who has a grudge against my sister has a grudge against me. I will never be sworn in with her. Brother, you are unreasonable. When did Huang Sui have a grudge against Chu Xia? Did you get the situation wrong? Lin Venhang looked at him speechlessly. Can you please stop making such generalizations? Don't you know what Huang Sui's sister-in-law Yamiru did to Chu Xia? After her eldest brother died, do you think she would only hate Yamiru and not pass on some things to others? Yamiru liked her brother-in-law, and she married Huang Xinlong for her brother-in-law, but in the end Huang Xinlong was forced to death by Yamiru. Huang Sui was sure of dealing with Yamiru, but based on my understanding of her, she will remember her brother-in-law's grudges. The most important thing to her brother-in-law is Chu Xia. Do you think she will deal with Chu Xia? Brother, have you read too many novels? Lin Venhang looked at Lin Wenbin speechlessly. Huang Sui and her brother-in-law are colleagues now. According to you, is she going to try her best to seduce her brother-in-law, and then my brother-in-law lost everything? But in fact, ask your brother-in-law, did Huang Sui do anything excessive when she was with her brother-in-law? Please don't think of her like Yamiru, okay? Yamiru is a madman. Everyone in the circle knew what kind of person she was before, but Huang Sui was not. She was a genius. Do you think a genius like Huang Sui would be like Yamiru, who would crazily take revenge on unrelated people? I don't believe it anyway. Your perspective has shifted. I don't want to talk to you, Lin Venhang. If something happens in the future, don't think that I, the elder brother, will disown you. You are being unreasonable. Whose eyes are covered with cloth? You. Lin Venhang's face turned red with anger and he couldn't say anything. When the two were quarreling, Chu Xia kept trying to persuade them. Unfortunately, she was so soft-spoken that the two of them couldn't listen at all. They still went their own way. She winked at the group leader, Zhangzi, but he pretended not to see it, which made her furious. Have you two talked about it? Finally, the group leader Tongzi spoke. Brother-in-law, do you think I did the right thing or did the dick do the right thing? You have different starting points, and of course you have seen different things. There is no way to say who is right and who is wrong. However, I know who is sincere to Chu Xia, and that is enough. Zhou Mikang patted Chu Xia, you yourself are the same. Do you know? Of course Chu Xia grabbed Lin Wenbin. Brother, don't be angry. The second brother is right. I know you are wholeheartedly doing my best, but I want to say something. Brother, you must first choose the most suitable way for yourself. I'm not being polite to eldest brother, I just want him to protect me in the future. If eldest brother himself is tricked by others, what will I do? When he heard Chu Xia talk about choosing the method that suits him, Lin Wenbin's face turned unpleasant. But when he heard Chu Xia's next words, he smiled happily. Xia, don't worry, I will never let that woman give him away as long as the situation continues. Big brother will always protect you. Well, I feel relieved. Chu Xia looked at Lin Venhang again. Second brother, I also know that you think of me as your sister, but to be honest, we have never met before, and you just have an impression of me, there is no real closeness. Later, when we met, we only exchanged a few words. Comparatively speaking, you and eldest brother have different feelings. Therefore, this is not a question of who loves me more, but because the circumstances are different, the results are different. But don't worry, second brother, I'm not an unreasonable girl. No matter what kind of relationship second brother and Huang Sui have, I won't blame second brother. And to be honest, up to now, Huang Sui has not done anything sorry for me. Therefore, thinking that she is my intellectual will definitely harm me, or it may be an illusion. Of course, the eldest brother thinks this way because he cares too much about me. As they say, it is better to prepare in advance than to rush. Why don't you, eldest brother, follow what you do in the future? Second brother, you should do what you do. If Huang Sui really wants to deal with me, I believe that second brother will definitely inform me, right? Of course, If Huang Sui really wants to do something detrimental to Chuxia, I will be the first to forgive her, but in Chuxia, I still believe that she will not do such a thing. She and I were classmates back then, and we spent a lot of time together. She was young, studied well, and the teacher treated her well, which naturally aroused the jealousy of many girls. However, she never harmed others or did anything else because of their jealousy. On the contrary, it was all other girls who were setting her up, and she suffered a lot. After all, she was young and simple-minded. Even if a person changes, his true nature is still there, so my second brother still wants to advise you, don't look at her with hostility when she doesn't do anything to embarrass you. That will make you lose perspective on many things. Judgmental. Good. Just as Chuxia responded, she saw Lin Wenbin grabbing Lin Venhang's collar and hitting him in the mouth with his fist. I'll beat you to death for being a ripoff, and you still persuade your sister like this. You clearly want that woman to take advantage of her. Did your sister get hurt? You think I don't know that you have always liked that woman, so you are afraid that your family will have conflicts with that woman, which will affect your future. Do you think you still have a conscience? My second uncle's family has suffered so much. Chuxia also suffered so much when he was a child. Now he finally recognizes his ancestors and returns to the clan. As an elder brother, not only do you not protect your sister, but you also using a selfish mentality to clear obstacles for myself. How the hell could I have a brother like you? To be continued. Domain name of this book, please tell each other to promote it. Thank you. Use the Ctrl+D shortcut key to bookmark it. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 629. One update arrived. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I got home yesterday. I was as tired as a dead dog. I felt dizzy when I woke up in the morning, so I am updating now. Dear friends, please understand. Lin Venhang, who was caught off guard, could not avoid Lin Wenbin's fist, and was hit hard for a moment. In an instant, blood flowed down the corner of his mouth. Zhou Mikang quickly stepped forward to separate the two of them. Chuxia quietly glanced at the elders. Except for Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, no one looked this way. This is so wrong. Are the two brothers often tossing the elders like this and are used to it, or are the elders holding a neutral attitude towards the two brothers and their methods and letting them solve it on their own? But during the Chinese New Year, is it really okay to make such a fuss? Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan were also very uneasy. They didn't know the reason for the fight between the two brothers, but in terms of time, it must be related to them, or in other words, to their daughter. Grandpa Lin looked at the two of them with a smile. Yulan, Baohe, don't care about them. They have loved pinching each other like this since they were children. Let them go. It will be fine when they are both married. Oh. Although they responded and turned around, the couple was always worried. But they couldn't offend Mr. Lin's face and went to their daughter's place. They could only sit on pins and needles with Mr. Lin and Mr. Lin. Grandpa Lin and Grandma Lin exchanged greetings. At this time, Lin Wenbin, who had been beaten, had finished cursing, and his anger had obviously subsided. Lin Venhang had also wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and smiled bitterly at Lin Wenbin. You are deliberately killing me in front of my sister's husband just to steal your sister. Where's your face? Brother. I'm really impressed by you. Why are you acting like a child? You talk nonsense again. Let's see if I don't beat you to death. Lin Wenbin's anger was successfully aroused by Lin Venhang again, and the two of them were about to fight again. Zhou Mikang frowned. Who are you planning to make trouble for? If you think we are an eyesore, just say so. Lin Wenbin quickly put on a smile and looked at him flatteringly. Brother-in-law, stop it. Venhang and I have liked to make noise like this since we were children. Every time we are together, if we don't do it like this, both of us will feel uncomfortable, but If you really encounter someone bullying the other person, you will definitely roll up your sleeves and go up to help. You said you usually get along like this, but how do we know? Joe Mikang stared at him, with a look of dissatisfaction on his face. You two brothers were beaten to a bloody head without even taking a few sips of water. What should we do? Treat. Brother-in-law, I'm sorry. It's my fault. Every time my elder brother lectures me, I like to talk back and poke him in the chest. I'm used to it and don't think much about it for a while. Don't be angry. As Lin Venhang spoke, he reached out to hug Lin Wenbin. After a slight struggle, Lin Wenbin allowed the other party to hug him and shake him affectionately. Chu Xia has been quietly observing the expressions of the two of them. She didn't believe Lin Wenbin and Lin Venhang's explanation. They were both in their 20s and almost 30 years old. Children educated in this kind of family will not be so ignorant. Don't talk about the first month of the year. Even on a normal day, when a guest comes to the house, it won't be less than 5 minutes before the two brothers fight like this. No matter how they explain it, no one will believe it, and they are not 3 or 5-year-old children. Joe Mikang glanced at the two of them lightly and said nothing. Obviously, he didn't believe it either, but he was too lazy to expose the other party, so he simply responded in silence. At this moment, the other two juniors of the Zhou family, Lin Wenjie and Lin Wengziu, also came over. They were not much older than Chu Xia, and they were at the shy and introverted age. Last time Chu Xia came, the two of them just laughed and fought. He said hello and said nothing else. Lin Wenjie is Lin Wenbin's younger brother, and Lin Wengziu is Lin Venhang's younger brother. However, in terms of closeness, the two are more like brothers. Therefore, when the two brothers fought just now, neither of them came forward. If they hadn't received Grandpa Lin's look, the two brothers wouldn't have bothered to come over and join in. Hello, we two brothers are like this. We don't have a fight every day and it's itchy. That's right, that's how they've always been. Although he was a little older than Chu Xia, they were definitely embarrassed to call Joe Mikang brother-in-law, so they simply didn't call him brother-in-law. Okay, stop pretending. Lin Wenbin waved his hand. Joe Mikang and Chu Xia are not stupid. It would be strange if they believed this. They are celebrating the new year, and they were like this when they arrived. Unless Lin Venhang and I are crazy. Early summer, to tell you the truth, Lin Venhang likes Huang Sui and has chased him for many years, but the other person has always been lukewarm towards him. I was too lazy to interfere before, but now, I can no longer sit back and ignore him. Brother-in-law, if what I said makes you uncomfortable, please forgive me. The Huang family took the initiative to propose marriage to the Zhou family before, but was rejected by the Zhou family. I believe that even if Huang Sui didn't mind at first, now that she sees you getting married, it's probably hard not to mind at all. Furthermore, because of Yamiru's relationship, Huang Xinlong lost his life. Huang Sui and Huang Xinlong have a very deep relationship. She will definitely not let Yamiru go, but she will definitely add the target of revenge to her old and new grudges. Sister and brother-in-law. No matter how unconcerned or generous she appears, I absolutely do not believe that it is her sincerity. According to her character, she might marry Lin Venhang smoothly. Then from now on, she will be Chu Xia's second cousin-in-law, and she will have many opportunities to get along with Chu Xia publicly. She is a medical genius. For the sake of my sister's safety, I advise her not to have close contact with Huang Sui in this life. I have been persuading Lin Venhang these days and analyzed it over and over again, but he wouldn't listen. Some of the elders in the family supported my idea, but some thought I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Anyway, I think from the perspective of my sister's safety, it is better to make a fuss than regret it later. Brother-in-law, you are working with Huang Sui now. From my point of view, of course I don't want this to happen. But I am a person who understands the importance of things. At the same time, I also believe that with your character and skills, you will never fall into her trap. But I'm really worried about Lin Venhang. If he completely falls into that woman's trap, he might really become our traitor in the future. So, I don't want to hide this matter. You already know the truth. Well, I believe you will make your own decision on how to do it. This kind of family affection made Chu Xia very, very touched. Even his brother might not be able to do this to this extent. He was protecting her sister regardless of gain or loss. She must reciprocate this affection. If she could only choose one of the two brothers, of course she would choose the one who sincerely cares for her and thinks about herself. Brother. Chu Xia stood up and bowed solemnly to Lin Wenbin. Thank you, brother. She ignored Lin Venhang. This was the kind of person she was. After making a choice, she would no longer play both sides. Only a clear stance would make people who treat her sincerely not feel cold. What Lin Venhang said may be true. He didn't believe that Huang Sui would do such a thing. He hoped that she could get along with Huang Sui with a normal heart. However, on the other hand, he only felt symbolically that she was his cousins. As for the brother-sister relationship, there is probably not much of it. To put it bluntly, Lin Venhang's feelings for Huang Sui are definitely much deeper than his feelings for her. Otherwise, he would not have left quietly last time. She would be nice to anyone who was nice to her. Call her childish, that's how she was anyway. His parents frequently glanced here, and Chu Xia had already seen it, and knew that they must be very, very worried. Although this was his father's real family, after all, they had never seen each other before, and they had no deep feelings for each other. When they came here, how could it be possible to feel at ease again? Also, she could see from the attitude of the elders that the so-called neutrality meant that neither party could persuade the other to compromise in the future. In other words, not every elder particularly welcomed the return of their family. Of course, she believes that Mrs. Lin and Uncle Lin are sincere. As for the others, she now has reservations. The last time her parents stayed here for a few days, she was not there, and her parents are people who will never say anything that others are not. What she heard from their mouths was all warm hospitality, and now it seemed that she thought their words had a lot of truth to them. The Lin family would not be ashamed of their parents, but it would definitely not be as peaceful and drizzle as they described. Otherwise, the scene that greeted their family today would not be like this. Feeling Chu Xia's alienation, Lin Venhang smiled helplessly, stood up, and said goodbye. I'm going to take care of the wound. I'm sorry. No one paid any attention to him, including Lin Wenjie and Lin Wengziu. Lin Venhang looked a little lonely, sighed helplessly, turned around and left. Brother, the second brother just can't think about it for the moment. Just let this go. Lin Wenjie looked at Lin Wenbin to persuade, and then looked at Chu Xia. The two of them are fighting over this matter. The second brother has liked Huang Sui for 5 years. After many years, it may be a bit difficult to get him to give up all of a sudden, but you have to believe in the second brother. He is not a person who does not distinguish between right and wrong, and at critical times, he will know whose side to stand on. He just deserves a beating. Lin Wengziu pouted, he is my brother, but I really think he is too useless. That woman didn't even look at him before, but now she suddenly drags him to work together, and he is so happy. He just went, it's too embarrassing for our Lin family, it's my parents' fault that he did the right thing, humph. Well, Zhou Mikang and Chu Xia can basically guess what the truth is. I think the second eldest couple of the Lin family probably wanted Lin Venhang and Huang Sui to be together. The genius daughter-in-law, coupled with the background of the Huang family, can be regarded as a strong alliance. Mrs. Lin has always been closer to her second son, so she should actually support the second son of the Lin family. When the great-grandmother reaches this age, many things no longer get involved. Grandma Lin and Grandpa Lin each support a son, or they reach an agreement, and no one interferes, leaving the two younger generations to do whatever they want. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 630. An update was sent at noon to make up for yesterday's. Rao Ying knew better than anyone the entanglement between Zhou Mixang and Yamiru. Therefore, although her younger sister liked Zhou Mixang, she did not agree with it at first. She never thought that Zhou Mixang was a suitable husband. He was too tough, too stinky, and too inconsiderate. It was very tiring to marry such a man. However, after she explained everything clearly, the younger sister was still determined to marry Zhou Mixang, so she no longer stopped her. She has a very good relationship with her sister, and she loves her sister very much, but she knows very well that when a girl falls in love with a man unconditionally and blindly, if you don't go along with her will, even if you marry her and love her again, there are no conditions. No matter how good a man is, she will never be happy. However, if Goi doesn't stop her, she will never help her. Anyway, she had never been optimistic about Zhou Mixang and didn't think he was a suitable choice for her sister-in-law. A few years have passed, but there has been no progress between her sister and Zhou Mixang. Privately, she is secretly happy and hopes that her sister will fall in love soon and meet a boy who is truly suitable for her. Unfortunately, things went against expectations. Before the buds of a romantic relationship emerged, my sister found an opportunity to get close to Zhou Mixang, the Jiazi Women's Hospital team, and went to work for Zhou Mixang. In this matter, the attitude of parents has always been to let nature take its course. If my sister marries the Zhou family, it will be an excellent opportunity for the Rao family. Therefore, after my sister asked her for help but was rejected, Mom and Dad came forward, hoping that she could help her sister. No one understood her worries, including my sister, in desperation. She could only let Jiao Gang help. In fact, the relationship between her and Jiao Gang was very good on the surface, but they knew their difficulties. The Jiao family may have a slightly lower foundation than the Ye family and the Zhou family, but it is also one of the most wealthy families in City A. Compared with their family, it is definitely more than a star and a half higher. Between her and Jiao Gang, she had always given in to him in everything. And it's the kind of unconditional accommodation. However, he was very good at making things happen and never looked down on her in front of her family and friends. Therefore, after getting along for more than 2 years, her family and friends felt more and more that she had found the most satisfying home. My sister expressed her envy more than once. She didn't have the courage to tell what she had suffered, and her vanity didn't allow her to say it out loud, so she just kept getting along with Jiao Gang in a seemingly beautiful way. Everyone doesn't know that the price she paid for letting Jiao Gang help her sister join the medical team. 3 days a week, Jiao Gang is sent to his door to serve him. That kind of service is definitely beyond what ordinary people can imagine. Fortunately, the injuries were all in invisible parts. No one discovered it. But that kind of shame often kept her awake all night long. She even felt that he was treating her like this. He may not have the intention to marry her. Would a man really treat his wife like this? She was thinking this in her heart, but she didn't dare to ask it out loud. She was afraid that if she really asked it, the relationship between them might come to an end. In fact, she had always known that the real reason why Jiao Gang was with her was not because he loved her so much, but because Mr. Jiao's favorite grandson, Jiao Jingjun, once liked her. Maybe people are just so weird. When Jiao Jingjun chased her, she looked down upon the tall, strong, and dark Jiao Jingjun. She thought he was too rough and it was too embarrassing to be with him. But after she and Jiao Gang fell in love, she gradually realized what a good man she had missed. Qiao Gang treated her in such a perverted way because he couldn't compare to Qiao Jingjun in other places, so he looked for balance from her. When having sex, he would ask her over and over again whether he or Qiao Jingjun was better. She has never been like Qiao Jingjun, so how can she know who is better? When she didn't answer, he beat her to death. Then, she could only answer him according to his wishes against her will. Under his design, Qiao Jingjun became an impotent weakling who shot instantly. If she had recognized this earlier, she probably wouldn't have been with Qiao Gang, but she had already followed him, and her vanity left her with no way out. The sound of running water in the bathroom stopped, and Rao Ying shuddered unconsciously. She had suffered from Zhou Mixang's pain during the day, and I wonder what tricks he would do again tonight. Her fingers touched the hard scabs on her body, and she felt cold from the bottom of her heart. Escape? She didn't dare. She was the one who dragged him to help. Although she didn't help, if she didn't drag him there, how could he have been humiliated by Zhou Mixang? Zhou Mixang is Qiao Jingjun's best friend. With this relationship, she would probably shed her skin if she didn't die tonight. Thinking of her pitiful little sister huddled in the guard room, staring at her like a little rabbit, she gritted her teeth and tried hard to suppress the thought of running away. Now, the only one who could save her little sister was Qiao Gang. When she came home today, her parents' eyes were all red. She had always disliked their cowardice, but she had to admit that her parents had always tried their best to take care of their sisters. It has never been like the uncle and uncle's family who forced their daughters to exchange benefits for the family and hoped that they would marry men with good conditions. They wanted them to be happy more than they wanted to get much out of them. At this time, Qiao Gang walked out of the bathroom naked. There was no smile on his face. He walked to the bed without saying a word, opened the quilt and grabbed Rao Ying. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Rao Ying staggered on her way home. After tossing her all night, Qiao Gang only gave her one word, gun. She no longer had the energy to argue with him, but now, she didn't dare to go home. Judging from his attitude this time, she had a premonition that something bad was going to happen. In the past, he had never allowed her to bring such an image home. Where could she go? After hesitating for a while, she walked up to where the Zhou family was. At this time, she couldn't lose her sister again. No one was helping her, so she had to help herself. It can be seen from Zhou Mixang's performance yesterday that he attaches great importance to his little wife, so let her find her. Halfway there, she suddenly paused. If she went to Zhou's house, would Zhou Mixang allow her to find her? So, she changed direction and walked towards 401. Chu Xia made up her mind in the evening, but she didn't wait until the group leader Zhangzi, and she didn't know what time she fell asleep. Anyway, when she woke up, the book was still in her hand, and it was still empty next to her. She sat there in a daze for a while. I felt a little uncomfortable. Was he avoiding her on purpose, or was something really wrong? If something happens, you should let her know, right? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 631. The third update has arrived. Sure enough, you are angry with your aunt. Lin Zhiling smiled and took Chu Xia's little hand, looking her up and down. We haven't seen you for a few months, and you are beautiful again. Not bad, not bad. It seems that the Zhou family takes good care of you. Chu Xia rolled her eyes secretly. Was she that close to her? Well, she is such a person. Originally, she liked everyone because of her acceptance. But now she is disappointed and she dislikes everyone. It seems that the anger is not low, and they don't want to talk to me anymore. Lin Zhiling smiled and touched her head. You little fool, how big of a deal is it for you to deny the whole family? Early summer. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe winked anxiously at their daughter. Unfortunately, Someone seemed to be under a restraining spell, sitting there with his head hanging down, not even looking at Lin's Hilling. You think I love Huang Su, right? Lin's Hilling smiled and sat next to her. We look the most alike, so of course we are the closest, right? Chu Xia finally raised her head and glanced at her, her eyes full of disapproval. She definitely didn't want to hide her emotions. Anyway, she was in a terrible mood after being forced to watch such a scene. If she really respected them, is it necessary to do that? Furthermore, her feelings for Lin Wenbin also faded away. How could she believe it when it came to acting? Whether you are the closest to me or not, as a junior in this family, I consider you to be the closest to me. With a sigh, Lin's Hilling moved to sit next to Chu Xia and put his arms around her shoulders. Everything is fine. I am asking everyone to cooperate because I want to know your attitude towards this matter. Now that I know your attitude, I naturally know what I should do. What do you mean? Miss Lin finally asked. Your uncle is Huang Sui's second uncle. He doesn't have much contact with her at ordinary times, but the relationship is pretty good. Wenbin went to see us. He hoped that we would minimize our contact with Huang Sui, saying that we were worried about her contact with you through your relatives. If you get too close, it will really hurt you. To be honest, your uncle and I both thought he was making a fuss, but seeing how insistent he was, we had no choice but to agree to him. But then your second brother came to us again and told us not to make trouble because of Wenbin's unreasonable behavior. He was really estranged from Huang Sui. That's too childish. During that time, your uncle and I were annoyed to death by both of them. So we came back and asked the old man and the old lady for help. They didn't give us any ideas, they just told us to figure it out ourselves. What can we do? Think about it. I decided to look at your attitude. If you mind, I will listen to Wenbin. If you don't mind, I will listen to Wenhang. There was a black thread in early summer, so there was no need for them to stage such a scene right away, right? It's not that we don't have enough time, and besides, isn't it okay to ask her properly? If I asked you, you probably wouldn't be so direct. What I want is your most direct feeling. In fact, I saw clearly what you were doing here just now. Lin's Hilling smiled at her, pointing to the glass curtain wall next to the main hall, behind here. I can see your expressions clearly, but you can't see me. Thank you. Chu Xia finally said thank you. Although she didn't completely agree with what the other party did, she thought that she also had true feelings for her, so she couldn't act too ignorant. However, seeing her parents' dubious looks, she still felt a little panicked. If she and her parents didn't have this identity, would they really dare to verify like this? Although you have good intentions, what you did made all of us unhappy. Zhou Mikang looked at Lin's Hilling. If you trust me, you won't use this method. I'm sorry, our time together is too short, and we can't even talk about understanding each other. This is the only method I can use. With a wry smile, Lin's Hilling sighed again. Let me put it more bluntly. The funds are stuck in the hands of Huang Sui's father. If I really become estranged from her, then I will probably have to apply for funds again. There is no need to be distant. Chu Xia looked at her seriously. Auntie is doing business, there is no need to worry about this and that because of the younger generation's family affairs. If she really wanted to destroy the relationship between me and Zhou Mikang, with her intelligence, she would definitely find a way to get close to us. If she didn't have that intention, it would be ridiculous for us to mobilize forces like this. Besides, I'm not afraid of her. She's smart and I'm not stupid, right? Yes. Lin's Hilling looked at her with admiration. Our Chu Xia is indeed a courageous child, but my aunt has decided to find a way to keep the funds and have less contact with Huang Sui. Does she have more contact with her aunt than before? Not yet. Then it's over. Chu Xia spread her hands, or, it didn't happen at all. Look at us scaring ourselves. Wouldn't that be more unfair? That's what happened. However, it's not a bad thing to be on guard. The main reason is that the child is too smart and has a calm personality, which makes us confused. In terms of her temperament, Huang Xinlong went like that, and she would never give up, but she didn't do anything. The more this happens, the more worrying she is. In the entire Huang family, the one she cares about most is Huang Xinlong, and the one she has the best relationship with is also Huang Xinlong. It is no exaggeration to say that she can give up half her life for Huang Xinlong, so you say, she is a little bit, there is no reaction at all. Is this normal? It's not normal, but... After hesitating for a long time, Chu Xia said, I think she has already taken action, but we didn't notice it. Did you find any clues? Everyone's eyes turned to Chu Xia. After pondering and weighing the trade-offs, Chu Xia gritted her teeth and said, you should know about Yamiru's embarrassing incident some time ago, right? Everyone nodded. Lin Wenbin's eyes widened. Xia, you mean, that was designed by Huang Sui? A few days before the incident, Huang Sui went to the hospital and met Yamiru. After that, Yamiru pestered director Huang like crazy, and then, something like that happened. Chu Xia did not answer Lin Wenbin directly, but told the reason for her suspicion. If she really designed this, then her scheming is too deep. Even if she hates Yamiru, she shouldn't deal with Huang Baoquan like that. Lin Wenbin looked at Lin Venhang. What do you say now? This is just a guess. There is no real evidence. I refuse to answer, Lin Venhang said. Chu Xia glanced at him lightly. The detection of any case needs to start with speculation and reasoning. As for the truth of the case, what is needed is longer evidence collection and investigation. Chu Xia, don't look at her with colored glasses, okay? Lin Venhang's eyes showed faint pain. I have made it clear that if she has the intention of harming you, I will definitely turn to you. Wenhang, even I don't believe this explanation, let alone Chu Xia. Lin Zhiling looked at his nephew and sighed. Pat your heart and ask, are you closer to Chu Xia or Huang Su? Closer. Lin Venhang remained silent. Second brother, I don't blame you. There is no reason for any of you to have to turn towards me. You are simply doubting it now. Even if it is true, who do you want to prefer is your freedom. I have no right or qualification to ask you to stand on my side. Moreover, if a girl who has been in love for several years can be let go if she says she can let go, how unkind and callous would that be? Second brother, just do whatever you want, don't force yourself, otherwise, not only will I not be grateful to you, I will also despise you. Knowing that Chu Xia's words were half sincere and half persuasive, Lin Venhang still couldn't help crying. He was too depressed during this time. The family is divided into two groups, one supporting and one opposing. Those who support it are because they think he can bring benefits to the family, and those who oppose it are because he may become a traitor to frame Chu Xia. No matter which one, they do not consider him based on his feelings. He had liked her for 5 years, how could he let her go so easily? He is a human, not an animal. He thought that after knowing the truth, the person who hated him the most would be Chu Xia, but he didn't expect that when it came to his heart, it would be Chu Xia who cared about him. The feeling of being valued and understood is so damn good. Alas, Lin Bao he also sighed heavily. At this time, he had completely understood the ins and outs of the matter, and also understood that there was nothing wrong with people testing them like this. After all, no one can throw away all their interests just because of a hypothesis or suspicion. Judging from the current situation, the Lin family in Beijing treated him 1,000 times better than the parents in Dalian village treated him. Of course, if the parents in Dalian village were also biologically related, everything would probably not be like this now. Unfortunately, it was no longer possible for him to experience the feeling of being a biological son. Let this matter take its course. Don't force anyone. Otherwise, we really won't be able to come here in the future. Lin Bao he expressed his position. Uncle Lin nodded, We also mean the same thing. If this matter is found to be true, we will stand unswervingly on Chu Xia's side. But in hypothetical situations, everyone should be more vigilant and follow the instructions. Just do it with your own ideas. Okay, this matter has been settled, now let's turn to another chapter and talk about something happy. He looked at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. Your great-aunt and grandpa came to our house the day after tomorrow and said they missed you two very much. This means, don't leave today, stay at home, there are other relatives waiting to see you, and you are such an old elder, do you have the nerve to leave? In the early summer, there was a look of astonishment on their faces. No wonder the old man and the old lady let their grandson act and move to the Diaotai. It turned out that they had noticed the filial piety of Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, and knew that as long as they moved out, the couple would definitely be embarrassed. Leave. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 632. One update arrived. Xia, does this make you feel uncomfortable? Grandpa Lin looked at Chu Xia and asked with a smile. Yes, after answering without hesitation, Chu Xia added, however, I understand why Grandpa and Grandma do this. Do you really understand? Yes. Silly boy, you actually don't understand. The old man sighed and turned his gaze to Zhou Mikang. Xiao Zhou, can you understand? I can understand it, but I can't accept it. Zhou Mikang looked at him indifferently. All the reasons are from your perspective, but they do not consider the feelings of my father-in-law and mother-in-law. As a large and important family in the capital, there is nothing wrong with you doing this. However, my father-in-law and mother-in-law did not grow up in this kind of family, so it is difficult to truly understand your actions. There is nothing wrong with maximizing interests, but it is a bit chilling to think about it. Your attitude this time is obviously different from the last time. No matter what the reason is, anyway, you are swayed. This is the fact that I see. I don't want to say more about the rest. From my perspective, it is not convenient to say too much. Hey, he sighed heavily, and Uncle Lin smiled bitterly. I understand, if it were me, I wouldn't be able to accept it. However, Baohe finally recognized his ancestors and returned to the clan, and stayed at home for a few more days to get along with relatives. A moment is necessary, so stay here peacefully. I owe you an explanation, and I will give you an explanation, but not now. Mr. Lin, there is actually no need to make it like this. No matter what your difficulties are, you might as well tell them, so that you can use this method to test my father-in-law and my mother-in-law's family during the Chinese New Year. Is there anything else that can't be said? They are all reasonable people, as long as they stand on reason. They will definitely understand, and if you don't say it, it will make them feel even more uncomfortable. If you really say it, it will be good for everyone. Of course, I'm not forcing you to speak out, I'm just talking about the matter. Sometimes, you think it's for the other person's good. But not necessarily. No matter what happens to the Lin family in Beijing, my father-in-law and mother-in-law will not be too involved. There won't be much benefit, so why not let them know? If it's inconvenient because I'm here, I can dodge it, but don't worry, I will never have any inappropriate opinions about the Lin family in Beijing because of this matter. Chu Xia glanced at Zhou Mikang gratefully. She knew very well how precious his words were, and she was just talking in such a long way just to make her parents feel better. It is almost foreseeable that after this time, Lin Baohe will probably never come to the Lin family in the capital again. However, if the uncle's family did this for Lin Baohe's benefit, when things come to light later, Lin Baohe will definitely regret it. Grandpa Lin hesitated for a moment and looked at Lin Zhiling. Seeing that the other person was also hesitant, he sighed, let's finish this matter here first. Okay. He said this while looking at Lin Baohe. Uncle, you make the decision, Lin Baohe said. This is how it is between people. Once there is a gap, it becomes less comfortable to get along with each other. Everyone who had become familiar with each other last time is obviously a little more distant this time. During lunch, everyone was forced to smile, which was different from the laughter last time. Chu Xia understood that something must have happened to the Lin family in Beijing. Otherwise, everyone's attitude wouldn't be like this, or her words at that time were a little hurtful. But she couldn't explain it until the matter was understood. So, simply stay silent. But getting along like this was boring, and she wanted to go back in early summer. It was not convenient for Zhou Mikang to express her opinion on this matter, so she went to Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan to discuss it. The two went back to the room to take a lunch break. They couldn't sleep. They were sitting there in a daze when they heard a knock on the door. Zhao Yulan hurried to open the door. When she saw it was her daughter, she smiled unconsciously. "Why don't you go to bed?" "Mom, I want to go home." Chu Xia looked at Lin Baohe again. "Dad, let's go back, okay?" "Xia, can you hold on for 2 days?" Chu Xia knew that her father would answer like this. "Dad, why do you insist?" The ceremony of recognizing ancestors and returning to the clan was so grand. Everyone knows that your uncle has found the flesh and blood left behind by the Lin family. If you can't see us when you look back, you must think more about it. Your uncle has his difficulties, even if we can't help him, and we can't cause any more trouble for him. Listen to Dad, we will definitely leave in 2 days. If there is still no other way to say it by then, Dad promises you that you will never come to the Lin family in the capital again. Okay, Chu Xia was actually very angry, so she was so anxious to persuade her father to go back. When she came here just now, her thoughts had faded. When Lin Baohe said this, she felt that she was too impulsive. If it was really the uncle who was in trouble, with her father's character, he would feel guilty and unable to forgive himself for the rest of his life. Forget it, it's only 2 days, just keep going. Father, Mom, once you've decided, stop thinking about it. Take a nap peacefully. You have a lot of relatives to meet in the afternoon. I guess you have almost forgotten about it, right? Zhao Yulan smiled bitterly. It's easy for so many people to recognize us. How can it be so easy for us to recognize so many people at once? If we call it wrong, it will make people laugh again. Hey. It's okay, they are not stupid, how can they choose such a reason? If you don't believe it, let them go to our village for 2 days and see if they can recognize everyone who has been there and call them right. Chu Xia burst into laughter. Her father was so calm and decisive as everyone else. Zhao Yulan gave her husband a helpless look. It would be great if everyone thought like you. Forget it, I still have a vague impression. Besides, uncle should remind us. I believe this. My uncle is really close to you. My mother-in-law may have something else in mind. Forget it, no one has such perfect things. I don't want to think about it anymore. Xia, you go back to sleep. Come and call us when you get up. Well, you guys want to sleep too? Chu Xia waved her paw, turned around and left the house. She happened to see Lin Wenjie coming from the corner and faced her face to face. She blushed unconsciously. Chu Xia, haven't you slept yet? Chu Xia smiled at him. No, why didn't you sleep? I'm not sleepy. The boy blushed even more. Chu Xia nodded and walked to her room. Early summer, Lin Wenjie shouted. What's wrong? Chu Xia looked back at him. What's the matter? Third brother, just tell me. It's, nothing happened. After hesitating, Lin Wenjie added, there's just a little bit of matter, let's go to the yard and talk, okay? Okay, Chu Xia responded happily and followed him downstairs to the greenhouse in the yard. This is a glass room built on the left side of the yard. There are some beautiful flowers planted in it. Although it is winter, they are in full bloom. Neither of them had any intention of admiring the beautiful scenery. They went straight to the small table in the right corner of the conservatory and sat down. Immediately, a servant made tea and brought it over. Lin Wenjie waved to her, "Mama Li, you can go and have a rest. We can do it ourselves." "Yes." Third young master, the woman known as Li Ma, took 2 steps back, turned around and left the greenhouse. "Usually, we brothers like to drink tea and chat here, but under normal circumstances, Wang Xiu and I are the ones listening to the eldest brother and the second brother bickering. They have been getting along in that way since they were young." "Are you going to explain it to me again?" Chu Xia looked at him. "I believe it. Really, third brother doesn't need to explain this matter anymore. But you and your second uncle and second aunt are not happy, and your Captain Zhou should also be unhappy." When Lin Wenjie said this, he looked obviously aggrieved. "If it were you, would you be happy?" "I." After a pause, Lin Wenjie shook his head. "I don't know, but I guess I won't be too happy." "Isn't that the end of it? It's Chinese New Year. We encountered such a scene when we came here. If it's normal, that's fine. We are all Chinese. We should understand that no one likes making such a fuss on the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, right? Especially in a situation like ours, it's easier to think too much, don't you think?" "Yes. My father and my mother grew up in rural areas and did not receive much education from a big family. Moreover, my father never thought that he would have such an identity, and he never thought that one day he would have to face such a life. Everything came so suddenly, and he finally accepted it, and tried to integrate himself into this family. However, when he arrived here happily, what greeted him was completely different from what he imagined. What do you think he will think now? No matter how nice or flawless the explanation is, he can't really be happy. If his previous living environment was better than ours, or he wouldn't think too much about it, on the contrary, they are two extremes. Do you think he would think too much? If you don't understand, you can think about it for a moment. If you find a girlfriend and her family's conditions are better than ours, and then you go to her house and her family doesn't take her seriously, what would you think? My girlfriend's family is not as well off as ours. After I went there, everyone was very enthusiastic," Lin Wenjie explained with a blushing face. Chu Xia looked helpless. "I'm asking you to assume that your girlfriend's family background is not as good as ours. Hey, you look quite smart. Why do you have so much trouble communicating? Are you angry?" Lin Wenjie looked at her cautiously. I'm a little nervous talking to you, so please speak slowly and understandably. Don't be angry, okay? What's there to be nervous about? I don't eat people." Chu Xia had a feeling of weakness all over her body. It was too strenuous to communicate on the same frequency band. Is there anything wrong? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 633. Second update arrived. But I get nervous when I see you. Lin Wenjie looked at Chu Xia tangledly. I get even more nervous when I see the leader. Maybe it's because of him that I get nervous when I look at you. Let's not study the tense issues anymore. Can you tell me what you want to talk about when you come to me? Chu Xia looked at him seriously. Anyway, I can tell you clearly that for me, my father-mother is the most important. I feel sorry for them even if they feel a little wronged, so if you are here to persuade me, please don't ask for excuses. I'm not trying to persuade you. I think you're right. I should tell you if I have something to do. Otherwise, if I keep guessing like this, you won't be happy, and my grandparents won't be happy either. It'll be hard for me too. However, I tell the truth, my eldest brother is really close to you, even closer to me than my biological brother. When he came back and talked about you before, I felt jealous. In my whole life, he has never been so fond of me. Heartbroken. It seems that I am close to Wengziu, but in fact, the person I am closest to is of course my eldest brother. However, he is much older than me and he is unwilling to play with me, so I can only play with Wengziu. Later, I got used to it, so Wengziu and I have always played together. But it feels like I'm really kissing my eldest brother. The coincidence that I came out of the room just now was intentional. I knew you went to the second uncle and second aunt's room, so I met you on purpose. Oh, can we get to the point? Chuxia secretly complained in her heart. Grown man, why should you be so rude? She explained over and over again, always changing the soup without changing the medicine, and her patience was almost worn out. My sister-in-law is not getting along well with her uncle. Huh? Chuxia frowned. What do you mean? My uncle didn't have much contact with the Huang family before, but since Huang Xinlong's death, the Huang family has taken the initiative to interact with the uncle. At the beginning, the uncle also interacted with each other politely, but after a long time, he started to interact with the other party. Closer. My sister-in-law wants her uncle to concentrate on his studies. Don't mix things with power, but my uncle is now obsessed with competing for the position of director of the scientific research office, and he can't listen to my sister-in-law at all. Everyone in the family knew that the second brother was interested in Huang Sui. In order to get his sister-in-law to agree, his uncle deliberately connected the second brother with Huang Sui, but at that time, Huang Sui didn't pay much attention to the second brother. Later, the two met frequently, and she agreed to work with her second brother. So, only the second brother was transferred to the preparatory team. Work with her to prepare the medical team before the war. Then, when the eldest brother came back and heard about the second brother's decision, he was very angry. He did not allow the second brother to work with Huang Sui. Of course the second brother couldn't listen. He finally waited for the other party to nod. He couldn't bear to give up such a good opportunity. Then, the eldest brother felt that the second brother couldn't distinguish between inside and outside, and the two became more and more quarrelsome. The elders initially supported the eldest brother, but when Huang Ping'an threatened his sister-in-law with divorce, the third uncle's family turned to the side of the second brother. In fact, they were also partial to the second brother. However, they didn't want to say it openly, fearing that their grandparents would say that they were not close to their second uncle's family, so when problems arose in their sister-in-law's marriage, they immediately expressed their support for the second brother and Huang Sui to be together. In this way, the connection with the Huang family would be closer, and it would be impossible for the sister-in-law and the younger uncle to divorce. Grandma loves my sister-in-law very much, so of course she supports my third uncle's family. Grandpa thinks it's even more difficult for my second uncle's family, and it's especially difficult for you in early summer, so he supports my eldest brother. Of course, my parents also support my eldest brother unconditionally. Mainly, they also really like you in early summer. As for the one that was staged today, they did have something wrong, but if you imagine, under the premise that there may be problems in your sister-in-law's marriage, they asked you to take a multiple-choice question. It's not too much, right? Yes, Chuxia nodded, but why don't you say it frankly? This is what I care about. No matter what the matter is, asking clearly will make people feel much more comfortable than insinuations. Why are we asked to do multiple-choice questions? To put it bluntly, you still don't believe us. I told you when I came here last time that our family is straight. We don't care if you say whatever you say, good or bad. But if you beat around the bush, you will definitely feel hurt. It's easy to say it, but to do it, if you have different positions, your thoughts will be different. I heard them discussing it with my own ears. They are just worried that if they ask you directly, you will not care about what you think in your heart, and you will regard my sister-in-law as the main one. After being silent for a long time, Chuxia sighed, okay, I understand, and I accept your kindness. I promise you that I will let my parents stay here until my great-aunt and grandma's family come over, and then I leave. Can't you live until 15? Are you kidding? Chusia looked at him funny. Have you ever thought that not only my father has roots, but my mother also has roots? My grandma and grandpa's family are still waiting for them at home. I'm sorry, I know my request is a bit too much, but... Sighing, Lin Wenjie continued, forget it, just think I'm talking too much. Chu Xia stared at him, if you have something to say it clearly. I hate people who say half of it and keep the other half. Sister, it's not good for you to speak like this, you're not gentle. If you keep being wordy, I won't talk to you anymore, Chu Xia said and stood up, preparing to leave. Lin Wenjie quickly stopped her. I said it's not okay. In fact, I have already decided to get engaged on the 15th day of the first lunar month. I hope that my second uncle, second aunt, and my sister, Captain Joe, can attend. Are you getting engaged? Chu Xia looked at him in surprise. How old are you before you get engaged? Lin Wenjie had a dark look on his face. I'm 1 year older than you, and you're already married. Do you need to be so surprised when I get engaged? Didn't I get married too early? Moreover, my eldest brother must have told you that I was forced to get married early by Captain Joe. Aren't he too old to wait any longer? Don't tell me, my girlfriend is older than you, so I can't wait any longer. That is. How much bigger? 6 years old. Early summer. Did you introduce it or talk about it yourself? Chu Xia asked. Of course I know her, Lin Wenjie smiled sheepishly. I worked with her during my internship, and then I kept thinking about her. Then, I suddenly heard that her family was forcing her to go on a blind date. I was anxious, so I go find her and asked to marry her. She thought I was joking, and then I told her with practical actions that I was a man who was upright and capable of giving her happiness. Then, she agreed to me. When he said these words, Lin Wenjie had a happy smile on his face. It was obvious that he really liked his fiancée. Then I really have to congratulate you. Chu Xia gave him a respectful hand and said, however, it is impossible for my parents to live here until the 15th day of the first lunar month. Today is the 3rd and 4th day of the Lunar New Year. 5. We must leave. On the 6th day of the first lunar month, we have to rush back to our hometown to see Grandma and Grandpa. Then, my parents will visit the house again. Whether we can come back again on the 15th day of the first lunar month depends on the situation. Listening to the last sentence, you can understand that she said that she would come as soon as possible on the 15th, which was basically a polite statement. Obviously, she had not completely forgiven their family for their behavior. Lin Wenjie sighed, do me a favor and let the second uncle and second aunt come to stay at home 15, okay. Chu Xia responded happily, okay, I'll tell them. It's up to you to say yes or not. Compared to people, you must kiss your daughter and be willing to spend 15 years with your daughter. So what's the difference between saying it and not saying it? Lin Wenjie looked at Chu Xia pitifully, sister, are you still angry? No, really not. Chu Xia looked at him helplessly, I'm not angry anymore, but some barriers cannot be eliminated with just a few words. You give us time. If by that time all the grudges have disappeared, my parents will definitely come over. Otherwise, I will be sorry for my third brother. Besides, there is not much difference between a family with us and a family without us. Third brother, whether we can come or not, I wish third brother happiness in advance. If there is a chance in the next 2 days, let us meet third sister-in-law, okay. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 634. Okay, I'll make an appointment with her later and ask her to come over in the afternoon, but sister, just be okay and promise me to let my second uncle and second aunt attend my engagement banquet, okay? Chu Xia helplessly looked at the boy who was shy before and now is stubborn. Why must my parents participate? Don't tell me that they are important, I don't believe it. My girlfriend's family is also an ordinary family. I'm afraid that they will feel uncomfortable if they don't have anything in common with my parents, Lin Wenjie hurriedly explained for fear that Chu Xia would misunderstand. I definitely didn't mean to look down on my second uncle and second aunt. I just feel that it makes people feel closer. Sister, you understand, right? Okay, I'll try my best to persuade them to participate. Chu Xia still didn't say what she said so absolutely. She could understand Lin Wenjie's mood, but she had to worry about her parents' mood. Anyway, no matter how reasonable what they said, there was a hurdle in her heart that she couldn't get over. Knowing that no matter how much he tried to persuade him, Lin Wenjie had no choice but to take a step back. Chu Xia, please talk to your second uncle and second aunt about this matter. I can see that they love you very much and listen to your words. As long as you speak, they will definitely consider it. Of course, if they really don't have time by then, I won't blame them. No matter what, they are my closest uncles and aunts. Why are you so eloquent all of a sudden? Chu Xia looked at him funny, or was it just an act to blush when you saw me just now? In fact, you are just a talker. No, no, Lin Wenjie waved his hands repeatedly, I really wasn't pretending, I was really nervous. Do you remember that when I first met you, I was too embarrassed to say anything? Except for Aunt Zhiling, there are no girls in our family. We grew up among a group of men. When we meet young girls unexpectedly, we must be shyer than boys from other families. Although you are a younger sister, we did not grow up together after all. Wang Xiu and I were certainly a little embarrassed when you suddenly appeared like this, and you are so good looking. It's a little better this time, but I still feel embarrassed. After talking to you for a while, I suddenly felt close to you, and I didn't have so many worries about talking. Early summer, no wonder eldest brother likes you so much. You are different from other girls. You are not coy, so what do you say? Eldest brother likes girls like this the most, and I also like girls like this the best. No, I should say, we men all like girls like you. Puff. The next sentence. Chu Xia couldn't help but squirt. The young man in front of her really couldn't let her connect him with a man. However, he was about to get engaged, so he was indeed a man. How could Lin Wenjie not understand what Chu Xia was laughing at, and his face turned red unconsciously. If you have a girlfriend, you are a man, why are you laughing? I'm sorry, third brother, you are so delicate that it makes it difficult for me to connect you with men. Lin Wenjie was speechless. You mean, it's easy to connect me with women? No, no, I don't have such strong tastes. I can easily associate you with boys. What does heavy flavor mean? Lin Wenjie asked curiously. Chu Xia laughed when the words posterity came up accidentally. It means, it's not as unreliable as I thought. Oh, I understand, heavy flavor, that's a good description. I learned another word, Lin Wenjie said as he took out a small notebook from his pocket and wrote it down solemnly. Waterfall sweat. Chu Xia looked at him with her mouth half open, and it took her a long time to come back to her senses. Well, I remember that in her time and space, when watching movies and TV shows in the 1970s and 1980s, the protagonist especially liked to take out his notebook and write down things anytime and anywhere. All their classmates thought it was so shocking, but now she understood, it turned out to be true. After remembering to put away his notebook, Lin Wenjie stood up and said, Xia, go back and take a nap. Wang Xiu and I will take you and your second uncle and second aunt out for a walk in the afternoon, okay? No, there are relatives coming over this afternoon. It's better for my parents to stay at home. How could Chu Xia not understand that he was thinking of persuading Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan on the way, so she simply refused and didn't give him this chance. In her opinion, Lin Wenjie was a little unsure of whether to advance or retreat. She had made it so clear, but he still persisted like this, which made her feel a little bored. She admitted that she was not a good-tempered person, but she did not intend to change it. Looking at Chusea's expression, how could Lin Wenjie not understand what she meant, and smiled bitterly. Sister, I don't mean what you think. I really want to take you out for a walk. There is a performance on the Shanggu street in front today, which is quite lively. I'm sorry, my mind is full of what you said to persuade me, so I accidentally overthought it. Chusea apologized, turned around and walked back to the room. What did your parents say? Joe Mikang was leaning on the bedside reading a book. When he saw her coming in, he asked. It's the same as what you said. Chusea looked at him with a defeated face. Are you asking me to confirm whether you guessed it right? You can understand it this way. Joe Mikang smiled at her. That's how you have a temper. When you are angry, you won't listen to anything others say. You have to try to believe it. If I don't express what I mean, how will my parents know what I'm thinking? Chusea rolled her eyes at him, climbed onto the bed, and told him about her encounter with Lin Wenjie just now. If it's like what he said, you might as well persuade yourself to put this matter down. Joe Mikang looked at him seriously. It's inappropriate for you to ask for their unreserved love. I know. Chusea nodded. I don't blame them, but I just don't like this feeling. You know, I would rather live a poor life than beg for help. If it weren't for my parents, I would have left long ago. Well, I support you no matter what you do. Joe Mikang patted the pillow and said, get some sleep. Anyway, we have decided to stay for 2 more days, so let nature take its course. Okay. In response, Chusea fell asleep in a daze. She got up early in the morning, took the car all the way here, and worked hard all morning. She was really tired. Joe Mikang shook his head in a funny way and helped her cover her up with the quilt. He was really a pig, and he could fall asleep right away. He was really convinced. After reading for a while and feeling that Chusea had slept well, Joe Mikang got out of bed and went straight to Lin Wenbin's room. Did Chusea sleep? Lin Wenbin was not surprised at all when he saw Joe Mikang coming in. Well, I just fell asleep. I knew you would definitely come to me when she fell asleep. Lin Wenbin poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of him. So, I have already made tea waiting for you. Lin Wenjie has been looking for Chusea. Joe Mikang told Lin Wenbin in detail about Lin Wenjie's search for Chusea, and looked at him seriously. Besides these, there should be other reasons, right? That's about it? You should be able to understand. If Chusea doesn't mind, the elders still hope that my sister-in-law can live a happy life. She and her uncle have real feelings. Now it's just that my uncle is a bit over the top. If they divorce, marriage, without any scruples, might ruin it for my younger uncle. The Huang family had never paid much attention to their uncle before, so why did they suddenly become so warm to him? This is simply unreasonable, and I checked secretly, and it was Huang Sui who took the initiative to show kindness to my uncle. My sister-in-law wants to watch such a scene, which shows that she has not really let go of her uncle. However, she does not want her second uncle and his family to leave again because of her marriage, so she is also quite conflicted. But I believe that unlike Lin Venhang, even if she doesn't divorce her uncle, if she finds out that the Huang family has done anything to regret Chusea, she will definitely inform us as soon as possible. I believe this. Joe Mikang nodded. The look she looked at Chusea was a real one, not an act. I also believe she is very conflicted now. Tell me the truth about how bad their relationship is. My uncle said that if my sister-in-law doesn't support him, he must get a divorce, and this support includes agreeing to him becoming an official, and also agreeing to the relationship between Lin Venhang and Huang Sui. It means that Huang Sui has agreed to Lin Venhang's pursuit. Although it's not completely determined yet, there is a tendency. I understand. Joe Mikang lit a cigarette, took a deep puff, and fell into deep thought. Amidst the smoke, the solemnity on his face gradually faded, and he reached out to pat Lin Wenbin. Thank you. You're so polite, I'm a little scared. Lin Wenbin looked at him blankly. Don't tell me that you have planned not to let Chuxia's family come over again. You think too much. I thank you for thinking about Chuxia so much. Zhou Mikang sighed. You know, she seems to be quite thoughtful, but in fact, she is just a straight person. I have to understand the situation before I can decide what to do. There's one more thing. Although I'm not completely sure, it's pretty close to 10. Let me tell you. Wang Jun has been very close to Huang Xinjun recently. Zhou Mikang frowned. After Mr. Wang retired, the younger members of the Wang family have always behaved well. He was very busy during this period and did not go to see them. He originally decided to take advantage of this visit to the capital to pay New Year greetings to the Wang family. Now that Lin Wenbin said this, I didn't want to delay it any longer. I'm going to Wang's house now, Zhou Mikang said and turned around and walked out of the door. Lin Wenbin followed him. I'll go with you and call Chuxia too. If there are guests at home, it's fine as long as the second uncle and second aunt are here. I won't take her with me anymore. She just fell asleep. Let her have a good rest, Zhou Mikang said. I think it's better to take her with me. Lin Wenbin looked at him seriously. What do you think, Ars?